Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. After a dominating Game 1 destruction of Megabank Beyond Gaming by PSG, we are going to have a change of sides here with BYG trying their luck on the blue side. And before we go into the matchup itself, we do have to thank our sponsors once more: CTBC Bank, China Airlines, Chunghwa Telecom, and Caliber. Thank you for our support in making all this possible. Now, Nightstar, I know you said that you felt like the Game 1 draft from Beyond Gaming was okay, and you would be willing to draft it again, just refresh the mentality. But what do you think this blue side actually means for Beyond Gaming, and what do you think that they're going to go for the priority takeaway here?
I think one of the keys is just trying to contest the affiliates pick. Whether or not the side of PSG go ahead and ban it over on the red side, that remains to be seen. But if it's left available, Doggo is more than capable to run it. And really, it just comes down to the fact that it didn't feel like they were ever comfortable with the Ashe pick. And just utilizing it to force picks is part of the reason. Could have been, well, they fell behind when it comes to the early game, and it's harder to force a pick when your solo lanes are a little bit unwilling to force rotations early on to capitalize on an Ashe arrow. So they were just really stagnant in the mid game, which is something you can't do when you do have an Ashe.
And this is the scary thing about the matchup that I think a lot of people might underestimate. It's true that PSG like to play towards tempo, but in Game 1, they demonstrated they could perfectly play just a slow, quote-unquote, team comp and smash you in the early game anyway. So, essentially, Megabank Beyond Gaming are looking at both sides of the coin where they're getting taken down. And to me, in my experience of casting League, that usually means that you're left to win through your champion mastery. You basically have to go with the champions that the other team isn't really able to play if you're being sandwiched on both sides of the matchups. Again, we are going to go straight into the ban picks. Once again, Megabank Beyond Gaming going to go for the tempo mid laners, taking away the LeBlanc and taking away the Syndra, while PSG this time at least banning the Renekton for Beyond Gaming.
They'll go ahead, take away both the Thresh and the Renekton here, so Thresh won't be available, and that also might be their way of preventing BYG to lock in the affiliates, although I'm pretty sure that's really not a deterrent for either of these AD carries, but it will limit how much peel power is available to help support this pick in that bottom lane. And it will be Camille as the last ban from PSG, so making sure that doesn't get into the hands of the Young. And it does mean both Ziggs and Aphelios are available, and that could also be a really good answer to the Aphelios pick if it does come down in this first pick. But BYG, they're not deterred. They just go ahead, lock it right in. I expect PSG to just go ahead, lock into Ziggs, and while Ziggs still doesn't have a great time against the Aphelios pick in lane, does scale incredibly well and really frustrating for Aphelios to play in the mid game and late game portions.
Yeah, this is an 11.16. We will be sticking on the old patch the entire way through, so Ziggs nerfs are not coming. Ziggs is still overpowered completely, and so is Viego. So PSG, it looks like they've got a good trade in this deal, and Kai Wing, after the Thresh is banned out, is going to get his Leona, which career-wise is his best champion. So leaving the Ziggs for later, they still have a chance to return to that. Megabank Beyond Gaming, no chance to take that away. And what do you want to see here from the top side? Oh, it looks like Xin Zhao is just going to be the instant lock-in once more.
Xin coming through makes perfect sense here, as it would just be the classic counter or classic answer to Viego. Not exactly counter, but you have a lot more early agency, and it just comes down to what kind of solo laner do they want to pair up with it, or do they want to go for a support pick. The Braum available here if they would choose to secure that for themselves, but it does look like they just want to go back towards this Rise pick. It did struggle a little bit during the early phase, which prevented him from hitting that 2-item spike fast enough, but it does leave the Leona Ziggs combination still available in PSG. I would fully expect them to lock this in. A lot of level 6 power against the Philios, and I love the start. You get the Viego power pick, and then you get Leona Ziggs, probably the premier bot lane.
Yeah, incredibly powerful in the bottom side as well. Like you mentioned, level 6, you can just blow someone up. There's not a lot of mobility on Maoan and Doggo for that matter, and they're never going to be taking a getaway Realm Warp together. Mega Infernal Death Rocket, Death Bomb comes down, everyone is dead. So, yeah, PSG is still getting their pick of the litter in terms of the power picks, I would say. And now they're taking away these blind top lane picks. Hanabi not really known to be a counter picker, but Gwen is still on the table here. So a lot of these powerful champions are still open for counter picking here for PSG.
Definitely a lot of open power here in this second phase for PSG. They still have the ability to flex Viego if that's actually being considered. I definitely wouldn't say Hanabi is exactly the Viego player for this team. That would definitely be River, as he's the big carry, but they will go ahead, ban away the Ken, which I think is going to be a big pick for Liang as a secondary pick after the Camille. And the Rakan will be taken away from Kino. So for the side of BYG, they've decided that Zoe, they don't want to see that, and also Gangplank as some sort of mitigating top laner. Here, I would fully expect PSG to just go ahead, lock in the Ornn and just say, hey, Hanabi, they probably can't do anything to you up top side.
Oh,
but okay, Olaf Hover is very interesting.
Yeah, we have seen some Viegos go into the lanes in playoffs. Not as common of a trend, especially after Viego Sustain was hit quite heavily.
Oh,
it will be the Karma into the mid lane, an old school counter pick to the Rise. We'll see if this one works out, but so far PSG, a lot of poke on their composition already.
PSG going for this Karma pick is really interesting because usually to pair with the Karma, you want to give a jungler that can get early agency and scrap early on. Viego not necessarily known for that, as he does want level 6 before he really gets online. And for Megabank Beyond Gaming, they go ahead, draft themselves the Alistar. The Jace, I fully expect kind of be Liang's next pick. It would give you the ability to lock in Ornn once more, but they seem pretty keen to lock in the Olaf pick. It does pair up well with the Karma, but it would mean Hanabi is on a much more vulnerable top lane, a much more punishable top lane.
Yeah, it seems like Viego weak side against Xin Zhao plus Jace. That's not going to be great for your health. But on the other side, I'm also surprised that Megabank Beyond Gaming went for this Jace, because the opponent's clearly aiming for poke and mid-jungle tempo, and Beyond Gaming have essentially no engage. It's very hard for Megabank Beyond Gaming to actually keep PSG in position. Like, their best tool is Graviton, which is, yeah, that looks a bit dangerous for me. What do you make of these matchups that we see the full rosters now?
Now that we get to see the full lineups here, Liang, this is a much better matchup for him this time around, being able to, if he's able to get ahead, it is clear night and day from the previous game. If he gets resources, he can win this 1v1. The issue is, because you do have Ziggs in that bottom lane with the Leona pick, organically, this bot lane can very well just blow up the side of BYG so they can throw more resources topside. And you have Karma Olaf. This is a premier duo in trying to punish mid jungle, and I fully expect PSG to play around topside and give Hanabi actual resources to play around.
Yeah, you might look at the 2v2 and say Beyond Gaming have a favor here, but PSG, they can bring the entire 3-man with that Karma roaming up top, like you mentioned. And, you know, it's very powerful to overload one side of the map and then have Satchel on the other side. So you can trade almost always favorably here. We are going to be stepping onto the Rift for Game 2. This time, Megabank Beyond Gaming trying their hand on the blue side by sneaking away this Aphelios. We're going to find out how it works for them right on the Rift.
Coming into game number 2, they've identified Aphelios to be one of the big issues, and they go ahead, steal away first pick, but Unified still gets a 1v9 champion in the Ziggs. I'll have to see how well they're able to execute in the lane phase on this Aphelios pick, which is key here. But more importantly, can Liang improve his performance in Game 2? Because Game 1, while he was able to get advantages, unable to force the issue because of the Ornn. This time around, a much more vulnerable matchup in the Viego. And if he gets a lead, that'll be the one to really keep track of.
Yep, we do see the runes once again. It's Gathering Storm again for Liang. This time also taking the absolute focus for some more lane harass here. And on the other side, PSG, I just love the way their keystone runes look. You know, it's really nice when you have a pair going with the hand. Double Conquerors into the top side. This time around, the jungle pathing will be a little bit different here. Xin Zhao actually not going to head towards the top side. It isn't scouted out by PSG, though. So they don't really know where Xin Zhao is going to be. And let's see if they assume Xin is still going to be going top. In the meantime, Doggo walks up to lane, takes a slightly unfavorable trade. And we do have the level 1 just going directly in right here. Alistar, not a particularly powerful level 1 champion. PSG will just take advantage of that.
Yeah, look at the cost. Doggo, already no potion remaining. They will have advantage of trying to get level 2 here and a little bit of extra sustain coming in from the Alistar, but already a great start having a 2 potion advantage on your bot lane carry here. Is instrumental in trying to make plays. And the key thing, again, River is going for the flash on the Olaf, which is surprising here given the fact that, again, you have pretty mobile carries. And if you do go the Ghost, you can punish these lanes so hard. Still will have the ability to punish here, but just doesn't have the extra cooldown abusiveness that you can have with the Ghost.
Yeah, it's a little bit weaker in terms of team fighting for sure, but you know, River has ran with the flash a lot of times, and he does like his burst damage. He's going to go for a full clear onto the top side here. Liang not really able to punish Hanabi at this point. He has to be very careful about Olaf and his pathing. And we also took a look at the mid lane earlier. Mawan completely Maple is going to be able to roam and leave whenever he wants to at this point. You're going to see the TP early from the Rise, already behind tower, going back to base. And Husha this time with the Xin Zhao, not going to be able to get a double scuttle start. But as we have said before, PSG don't really know where Husha has started exactly, and this bottom lane could be in a little bit of danger. But looks like Unified and Kaiwing going to stick very close to their own towers. Husha doesn't see an opening. He's just going to head back. And now it is Liang trying to fend off the 1v2.
And over on that top side, that's where, of course, Liang is getting pressured. If he does walk up to the lane, could have gotten punished, but it will be the recall channeled by River. He wants to make his way back towards that bottom half. Scuttle Crabs will be split up here. And, I mean, at the moment, for the side of BYG, it's about stabilizing both your top and your bottom lane. So a lot to do for Husha. A lot asked of him. And it's just got to be efficient play coming in from the laners themselves as well.
I do want to go back to our win conditions for both of these teams. We have touched on the power picks, the matchup dynamics, but not really on how each side plans to win this game, as we do have a great knockback from Liang, getting that level 5. He's fighting within the mist, but Hanabi has to flash early, even with the Conqueror stacks. Can't stand the heat against Jace.
Really, really good trade there coming in from Liang. He's able to generate an organic advantage up top side, and that's going to be massive here as they have the ability to make a dive play happen. Huxia is over in that top side as well, but it's going to be about finding a timing for Huxia to make his way up top side, try and make that dive happen, because Liang this time around carving an advantage for himself, but also giving them an opportunity to snowball around that advantage.
For sure. This is what we have seen usually from Megabank Beyond Gaming. They are mainly a 1-3-1 team, so they play through their solo lanes, and Doggo sits in the mid lane for the most part, and then becomes a monster in the late game. They're honestly quite similar to Machi in terms of their winning drafts and compositions. We are going to see Megabank Beyond Gaming starting on the Drake right now. For PSG, they do have Maple with priority, but he's just taken a huge chunk of damage walking in on the opponent. Huxia thinks again about this trade. Maple going low, but still adamant on taking down this pink. We're going to see if that prompts Beyond Gaming to fully invest into this Drake. Indeed, they will. Maple, he kind of just took 75% of his HP for absolutely nothing. Even with the reset from Megabank Beyond Gaming, I don't feel like there's going to be a strong contest here. As I say, that River comes in, tries to get a knock in. The flash has to be used, but again, the Olaf is coming in. Maple now with the inside track. Double TP is coming in on both sides. River, the first blood to go down. Hanabi now in the fray, but he doesn't have a flash. Heartbreaker doesn't find the target, and that's 2 down for Megabank Beyond Gaming.
And first side of BYG, they find themselves 2 kills in the early game. A much different story as teleports coming in from both of these top laners. And the big thing here that I thought would happen was, well, Bond, he doesn't have a whole lot of mana. I figured they would have the advantage for the side of PSG to come back into this fight, but no, it's actually just not enough health left onto Maple. He's forced to expend the flash early. That proves to be really, really problematic for the rest of the fight. Also not level 6 onto Unify. Doesn't have that big team fight ultimate, and while they are able to scrap in these smaller situations, mostly focused around the Karma and the Olaf, once it gets to those larger scale team fights, that's when they will run into some issues pre-level 6. But that, I mean, that's going to be an afterthought, because we do have level 6 coming in very, very shortly from the spotlight.
Very interesting fight by PSG. I'm not sure exactly why they went for that one. They were down a flash. They were down Maple's HP bar, like you were mentioning. And they also had to walk through a ramp with Alistar on. So they focused Alistar first with their burst damage. And Kino didn't even die. Yeah, that was not what I expected of PSG. Definitely far below their caliber in terms of a team fight decision making. But it seems like they're going in again. They have a 3v3 here, and both teams eyeing the Herald at this point. It is 8 minutes into the game. We do have an extra TP from Unify that could come in handy if PSG do find a chance for a full collapse.
Yep.
But not going to happen just yet. And Megabank are kind of calling the bluff. They're saying, we honestly don't think you're going to start this Herald, and I think they're right.
Yeah, they're just going to try and farm out these lanes as much as possible, force PSG's hand here, as they do have the Rise ultimate available to try and cut some corners when it comes to rotating over to this play. And more importantly, they don't want to be the ones to start it out, especially when Unify does have Teleport and Mega Inferno Bomb, so he can immediately go to that top or mid lane tower and just throw that Mega Inferno Bomb. But
oh, we have to first engage coming in here. The target is going to be Alistar once again. Hanabi finally going to find this kill. He does get the Heartbreaker chain to go. That's 1. That's 2 going over. And you cannot keep Viego down. You can do it for one team fight, but he always comes roaring back. As now we have Another playoff game where it looks like Viego is going to absolutely dominate. We're all focused on Unified. Didn't even matter right there. They focused on the support. They get the kill, and it's just Reset City.
And they just couldn't focus their attention onto Hanabi. They actually threw so much attention over towards River. Does he end up forgetting about the eye? That's the real question.
There's no way, right? There's no way. Oh, okay, he's got it.
That was kind of close. I think it was.
We saw that in
close
NA, by the way.
Yeah.
But we're gonna watch the fight again.
Kino tries to kill that ward, doesn't, and then they just immediately turn. Kino not level 6 is the important part here. Doesn't have access to that ultimate. And you just see the value of Viego ultimate being able to blast people out of that radius, and that CC combined with the damage, getting the first reset. It's just Clement. Can we fix Viego?
No.
Like hot fix him, please. Just bring in 11-16 Viego. 11-17 Viego.
Yeah, he's always gonna look something like this in a team fight. I feel like his reset mechanic is just too powerful. But hey, you're gonna have Action and new other champions to to kind of close the gap, yeah. I should say.
The balance is we'll just have Akshan come in, and whoever Viego resets on, as long as you're able to somehow kill Viego at the end, you bring everyone back. But that's 2022.
Yeah, that's hopefully what's going to happen. We're not really sure about that one. I do want to go back into the mechanics of the fight, because as I was watching it, I felt like that was a very slow Crescent Guard coming in from Husha once more. Like, he just... I think he just assumed that, hey, if they focus Alistar last time and lost, they should probably lose again if they focus Alistar. Is that your read on the situation? Because Beyond Gaming, they fell down without really much of a fight. It looked very disjointed coming in from their side, even though it was a straight up 4v4.
Yeah, it really just came down to the fact that...
Oh, we're gonna have another catch. Sorry about that. The Scent Play does land after the flash. Maoan gonna go down, and Kaiwing keeps himself alive with the extra armor and resistances coming in. Another pick for PSG.
Yeah, and while it feels like Doggo is in a comfortable spot...
Doggo gonna go in again, but Unified still has his ultimate here. He has to be very careful about this one going in, and you can tell that he's trying to heal up as much as possible. Does have the Vamp Scepter available. Unified can hold on to his ultimate as well.
Yeah, and while this matchup's still very favored towards the Philios, and when it comes to the 1v1, there's just so much more teamfight power coming in from Unified at this point. We don't even see that first Mythic come through, and yet he's still trading relatively evenly. And will also have that extra teleport to make plays around the map. And so the longer you're able to keep this isolated, while Doggo will slowly get more farm lead, Kaiwing's kind of stuck in a weird spot.
Gets sandwiched here. When Becomes Lightning does land. Kaiwing is forced to flash.
And they
in comes the response, though. Maple is going to force a flash on his own. Support flash for jungle flash here. And we also have Kino being forced to use his ultimate. So a lot used on both sides here. No deaths just yet. Kaiwing going to get...
Kaiwing is probably dead.
Yeah, that was fairly careless from Kaiwing, honestly. I don't know what he was trying, but definitely could have backed it underneath the tower there. River going to take this opportunity to go towards the top lane, and it feels like the second game in a row where Liang is just getting heavily focused down.
A lot of attention thrown over to Liang on this Jace pick, because they know, well, Viego is actually going to scale very, very well here, and if he's able to get an advantage, Liang... he just can't do much against already Steel Cat's boots completed on this champion. And on the flip side, I mean, it's kind of the classic response. If Liang's coming under fire, we just throw more resources into Doggo, and fingers crossed he carries 1v9. But this is, again, a very difficult composition to 1v9 against, because you have to blast through the extra Karma shielding, and even with Serpent's Fang coming in from Liang, which I would fully expect at one point, in range form, he doesn't cut enough of the shielding, so it's not going to be enough against the Karma.
It certainly is going to be difficult, and as we've mentioned, Beyond Gaming don't really have the best of engages against something like a Ziggs Karma, so I think for Megabank, probably their best chance is to counter engage. If PSG go a little bit too ham, try to force Hanabi to get a reset kill, maybe they can punish that, but for me, it's pretty hard to see them actually proactively getting picks across the map here. What do you see their main plan being in this mid game?
For the side of Megabank Beyond Gaming, they need to be able to play around vision just a little bit better here, because I mean, in game 1, PSG were in full control of the vision game, and in game 2, they're playing a lot better around vision as well. They're aggressively attacking, getting deep wards in, and that really prevents Megabank Beyond Gaming from getting those big picks to force their way back into the game, or at least stall things out here. But they're
we are going to have
a
a
play
pick
on
here.
Maple.
Usha coming in, but
far.
doesn't find the angle on the Crescent guard. Maple walks back underneath tower. It's going to be completely fine here. In the meantime, River going to take another uncontested Herald. Usha has just not been very effective on the map throughout the series so far. Inferno Bomb clear out the bottom side, and that's just a free trade for PSG. I feel like Beyond Gaming are forced to go into this Drake.
Yeah, it's just so hard to find tower advantages against the Ziggs once you get past the 14-minute mark. Once turret plates do fall down and Ziggs pretty much turns into a mid laner, he can instantly just walk a few strides over to one of these side lanes, and even no matter how large that wave is, just instantly clears it out with the ultimate. And in the mid lane, well, you could just throw down your minefield and constantly clear out the minion wave. So it's just things stalling out just expectedly from the side of BYG as they try and generate advantages headed into this mid game.
Once again, PSG is going to leverage this Drake, instead going for the top lane, furthering their lead onto Hanabi. Unified backs right in front of an Alistar, but it was a bait. Doggo has to burn his cleanse to get out. Highwing waiting on the wings for that one. This is a very clever sort of play there. I thought Unified might have gone a little bit too deep, but he had all of that planned out. PSG, we talked about this, a very staple play for them. A lot of times they do leverage Drake tempo for tower tempo, getting immediate gold rather than gold in the future. Take that tower down to half. Now Doggo looking for an opportunity. Moonlight Vigil does go down, grabbing him onto 3 targets, but Unified has already backed off very far into the background. It's not going to take any more damage after that one.
Again, Doggo, he's going to be struggling to try and find damage. Of course, Affiliates does a lot of damage, but the issue is with the extra Karma shielding, given the fact that she is going for it, the Shirelia's Reverie as well, there's just so much move speed on this team. They can rotate really quickly around the map, but they can also just kite you so effectively. And if Doggo doesn't have that Gravitum, it's really difficult to hold this team back. You only have so many tools to try and disengage, and the relatively long cooldowns as well. Kino on this Alistar to knock back. It's like 10 seconds that you're looking for to try and disengage the situation once more. And Wuxia, of course, only has a Crescent Guard, but now they're trying to force a pick here. But again, the move speed, it's so annoying.
We do have a 3v2 developing, but PSG, they are walking in with numbers. Now Hanabi has joined the fray from the mid lane. They're going to take over the blue, and despite all the vision that Beyond Gaming took here, they're not willing to fight against this Viego for now. They still want to scale up a little bit more. Unified getting very close to just satcheling this mid lane tower away. And Kaiwing walking up as well. Gravitum does hit the target. Massive amounts of damage from Doggo. Disengaged from Kaiwing. And that's the first win in a long time for Beyond Gaming. They will take this bottom lane tower. They will start to 1-3-1. This is what we mentioned. This is why their composition should be able to execute. It's finally coming online, slowly but surely. And they also have taken back the gold lead.
Yeah, and I would say that they have a bit of a stronger comp at this point at 1 Mythic here. With the Gore Drinker coming out from the Zen. That's big difference in comparison to the Divine Sunderer on the Olaf. So not going to get that extra burst healing in these team fights. And the Divine Sunderer is definitely an interesting pickup on Olaf. Yes, he auto attacks a lot, but he's going to be reliant on those axes to then get that extra Divine Sunderer proc here. And given the fact that, well, there's a lot of backline, a lot of range here. He's really banking on the extra movement speed from Karma to give him relevance in these team fights rather than go for a Gore Drinker proc to try and keep himself topped off.
Yeah, I think he's reading that realistically he's never going to get a Gore Drinker proc on more than one target in these team fights. It's just kind of impossible to do. So going for more of the single target option here. In the Divine Sunder, but he is very tanky at this point. Double Sterix gauges in the top side already done. You might not think of Hanabi as a bruiser. He's more of an assassin type, but he's going to survive a long time in these team fights. And we have seen the Immortal Shield Bow being taken by Aphelios as well, and it's just like that's just so disgusting for Viego to have double shields in a potential 5v5.
Yeah, now they're setting up for this mid push. Of course, they do have...
it just will be a straight unengaged tower. Goes down to the satchel charge. Kaiwing being brought in this tier 2 tower. A lot of damage being traded back and forth. Unfortunately, Moonlight Vigil not able to find a good spread on PSG members. PSG will just take their 1 tower and back out. A lot better than I thought it would end up being for Beyond Gaming.
Yeah, and now that we see these second items, and part of that is, well, the second item differential is so massive because you do have double Sterix gauge coming through. You just have such a large, effective health pool to play around. And if you look at the second items coming in from BYG, you have a stacking man immune. That's not quite it. Maybe once it's completed, you have a real item, but then you have Morello, which also doesn't give you a whole lot of value as a completed item. And then you also have this collector here, which honestly should have been a Serpent's Fang in this situation. A little bit cheaper and also still gives you the lethality and more importantly gives you the extra utility of shutting down the shielding coming in from this Karma. As a result,
lots of good poke here by Megabank Beyond Gaming. And there's one thing we haven't really mentioned. It has been doom and gloom for a while for BYG, but Doggo has been farming up a storm. 250 plus CS, 2 items already complete. And we saw when Jason and Doggo get together, PSG in the crossfires, sometimes they don't need engage. Sometimes all they need is just making sure that they can poke out the other enemy team. But PSG are going for the full-on engage right here. Well, all the ultimates being dropped into the back line. Kaiwing going in and catching out in the front line. Kino, nothing that the Alistar can do, just goes down and just gets completely bursted. Beyond Gaming, they showed their hand. Mawan was pushing in the side lane, so was Jace. And yeah, it's kind of an easy turnaround, to be honest.
Yeah, and this has kind of been one of the big things.
Liang?
Okay,
oh, he gets it!
Steal. Very good snipe coming in from Liang. I mean, that was kind of expected there. River doesn't use the smite, and as a result, gives BYG a soul point. And while, I mean, it is Cloud Soul, so it's not going to be the most insane one, but more importantly, the extra move speed helps compensate for the fact that there's so much mobility on PSG with those Karma shields, with the Shirelia's Reverie. And yeah, just going back to the point, Doggo, it's going to be on him now to carry these fights. Kino, one of his big issues has been overextending himself when he does lose that tier 1 tower, or when he has a long ways to go to fall back, he ends up getting caught out more often than not.
Yeah, Kino, I think overall Megabank Beyond Gaming was one of our greatest improvers this split. But there were a couple of drop-offs. Mawan and Husha, they've improved massively. But Kino, I cut in some slack. Being a father is pretty hard. but it's just Kino has not been his top tier performing self this split. And a lot of it is, like you mentioned, just getting caught out. His engages were pretty questionable throughout the regular season as well. And we'll see if he can finally pick back up on the postseason. It has been going Kaiwing the entire way, though. And now it looks like PSG might be forcing themselves into another early Drake. They see the scaling writing on the wall. The Aphelios is getting there. The Rise is getting there. And PSG does feel like they're under quite a bit of pressure to make something happen at this point.
Yeah, and the big thing is, while a third item is great on to the Ziggs, Olaf doesn't necessarily get that much stronger. Diego, he doesn't necessarily change a whole lot, and the big thing is, of course, this Karma pick. You're about getting to 6 items faster than anyone else because you are going to support build, but you do cap out very quickly. You don't exactly contribute much when it comes to the damage department, a lot more utility. So that's why PSG, they're going to start out the Baron and teleport coming in from Beyond, trying to answer back.
Kino finds himself into the river, a very early solar flare to zone people out. Now we have Husha in the pit already, but the Baron still goes over to river. Red team finds it. They have to fight on two fronts, so Dago's completely untouched. He is winning in the backline. Unified gets taken down. Shutdown coming in from Dago, and Beyond Gaming wipe PSG. Only one member alive here from Kaiwing, and he's not getting out anytime soon. 1 for 5. They get the Baron, but it doesn't say.
Yeah, they get the Baron, so from a gold perspective, it's relatively even, but Megabank Beyond Gaming looking to draw blood. They're trying to tarnish PSG's dream run to perfection to Worlds. Now they've got almost 3,000 gold advantage. This composition is starting to come online, while on this time around didn't get hard punished. They don't have impending Soul Dragon to contest. In fact, they're the ones with the advantage, and here you get to see the replay. It's just them, the side of PSG, stuck in the back of the pit. And what do you know, Ziggs tries to get over the wall and just gets a face full of Jace, and Liang, with all these extra resources, so much damage, just able to ground pound them into the dirt.
That's what happens when a poke comp funnels themselves into the Baron pit and they all just get blown up. A great move by Liang. You mentioned this already, but he caught out 2 carries on the back line. There was basically no damage from Unified. Like, I could see the gambit that Unified was trying to pull, just go over the wall. You have 2 layers of terrain, essentially, to just open up on the enemy team. But he found a Jace instead, so no damage coming in from the Exec explosive, the Demolitionist whatsoever. And now Megabank Beyond Gaming are staring at this Cloud Soul, excuse me. PSG have to find their way into the pit. Hanabi's been awfully quiet these last 2 team fights. He hasn't been able to get any resets in the last one. Can they get one now? They're angling for the positions. They're trying to circle down onto Husha, who does not have a flash here, but Husha makes it away, and a great poke by Liang. Oh, that's about 1,000 damage on 2 backline carries. Beyond Gaming are uncontested.
Yeah, that's going to be Dragon Soul into the hands of Megabank Beyond Gaming, and while it's not going to just end the game straight up from there, it's such a nice soul for them, given the fact that, well, now Kino, he doesn't really need to worry about mispositions on this champion. He's going to be able to use that Alistar ultimate pretty much non-stop, as the cooldown's just going to be so fast or so short with 3 Cloud Dragons, and the extra move speed is going to be absolutely crazy for this squad. As again, one of their big problems here is going to be kited out by the extra movement speed coming in from Australia's Reverie. Karma, that problem kind of gets remedied here.
Yeah, for sure. And we also have to mention that we have the Staff of Flowing Water coming through, so Unify gets a lot of extra AP as well. You know, PSG, their early game, a lot of these fights have been rather iffy. The first Drake for me was a head scratcher. The Baron fight was, it was just better played by Beyond Gaming by a mile. And now it seems like PSG, their only win condition left is just unified Ziggs. We have seen him pop off, especially against Boom Esports, where he stole the Baron and stole a Drake and somehow clawed his way back into the game. But this is a tall order for PSG to accomplish the same thing.
Yeah, and BYG are also a different caliber of team in comparison to Boom, which in the Boom game, Boom ended up getting sucked into a lot of these
into
another
Baron control situation here. About 2 minutes left here. PSG circling around, trying to find Beyond Gaming in their own jungle at this point, to no avail. And PSG, they have the poke damage. They can disengage quite well, but they cannot take full-on fights at this point. So they're going to play very slowly, very cautiously, move in one by one. River going for the full tank build, so he's going to take a while to take down, even from someone like Doggo. Does have the crit damage reduction being built here on the Randuins.
Yeah, and the big thing here is, of course, now Doggo on 4 items, has the Wit's End completed as well, so he's going to be taking a lot less damage from the Ziggs pick, and River really dropping off the map when it comes to effectiveness, which means Doggo's got a lot more safety. So can we find those extra heroics coming in from PSG to keep their perfect streak alive, or will it be make Beyond Gaming finally?
We're gonna find out. Kino gets open on, but he does have Unbreakable Will. Hanabi could not find the damage to punch through him. Highwing now on the flip side is gonna fall. Beyond Gaming, they just materialize out of nowhere. They were all behind the bush, behind the vision that PSG could not see. Now Hanabi's gonna get opened on again in transition.
Maple's gone.
Maple.
That's it.
That's dies. That's 2 down. And PSG, after 21 straight wins this split, they now face impending doom. Beyond Gaming about to make the series 1-for-1. Can River actually step up and stop this? It's not looking like he's even going forward. Just dies on the stand right there. Hanabi to follow. Not even Viego could take PSG out of death's grasp here. Their first loss of the split.
And Mega Bank Beyond Gaming rise to the occasion, and they are able to even up the series. A massive victory here for this young squad. Of course, that game 1 was an absolute disaster from an execution perspective, and you want to see them bounce back mentally. I think a game win is a perfect way to do that.
It definitely is. This is the first time Mega Bank Beyond Gaming has taken a game off PSG in the postseason. I do want to say that, honestly, this is one of PSG's oldest traps, is that sometimes they go utility for Maple. And the closest games we have seen across the season for PSG falling has just been utility mid, where Maple isn't able to bail them out sometimes out of difficult situations.
Yeah, and you can definitely feel the pressure mounting for PSG with their composition. Olaf spiking at 2 items, but massively falls off a cliff right afterwards. That's why they go for that Baron play. They know that River is on a timer. After that, it's essentially a 4v5 because he cannot get into that back line effectively without those big Karma shields. But the Karma also starts to taper off, and Unified this time around unable to 1v9 his way out of that one. As again, Beyond Gaming, they're a different beast from Boom Esports. Boom Esports can take it to you in the hands department, but macro-wise, they can't compete. But Beyond Gaming, they know how to close these games out.
Yeah, this is a beautiful game coming in from Mega Bank Beyond Gaming. They kept their distance, they kept their farm up on Doggo, and to be honest, I don't think PSG is particularly comfortable with trying to snowball the top lane. They had a massive lead on Hanabi. He got 4 takedowns in one team fight, and the entire top side was, I believe the top side scoreline was something like 2-1-2, 2-1-2 to 0-1-0 and something like that. So They had a great start, but they did not snowball that. Beyond Gaming didn't give them an inch for about like something like 15 minutes, and they forced PSG to then go into risky plays like that. So I guess the question I have for you is like, do you think it was a problem with the execution? Do you think it was a problem with the draft? What went wrong this game for PSG?
I think it just comes down to the fact that the Viego flex up into the top lane didn't really work out, as the strategy of giving Hanabi resources and then have him carry the game, this hasn't been a really prominent PSG strategy, and you can kind of see why. They were a little bit stagnant when it came around to moving that lead around the map, and they also weren't able to effectively play around the Ziggs when it comes to try and take down towers because of how far ahead Aphelios was when it came to the 1v1. And they just weren't able to collectively play together as a death ball, which is also very difficult to do so. And the 1-3-1 was really hindered by the fact that they had a Karma pick, which really only empowers you to 1-4 at best.
We talked about Poke maybe coming out for PSG, but the Poke champion was actually Jace. He deals double the amount of damage compared to the solo lanes. And the MVP at the end will still be Dago, 7-0-3, flawless game, up plus 50 CS in the mid game against the Ziggs. This is how Beyond Gaming has looked throughout the entire split. This is how they're strongest. They always win the bot lane. They always get Dago ahead, and they smash you when it comes to late game. Aphelios seems to be the key here.
Aphelios might just be the key to this series, as you would say the top two Aphelios players in our league are Dago and Unified. And now that PSG will most likely go back over to the blue side, what's the answer coming in for Megabank Beyond Gaming? Most likely they go ahead, ban away that Aphelios, but if the Ziggs ban does drop from the side of PSG, are they tempted to try and take the reverse matchup here? Does Dago go on to the Ziggs? Because we have seen him play it, but he doesn't like to play it.
Yeah, it seems like Aphelios is still the main card here, but we're going to find out in Game 3 as we take a short break and come back to Beyond Gaming versus PSG Talon.